Hit it.
All I can think of is like bow, bow. You know what I'm talking about on social media? No. Okay.
No,
Thanks,
we're
guys.
old guys.
Yeah, that was my struggle.
All I can think about is bow.
Okay. No, it's like.
Is this thing on?
Really
Are we
tell me what
live?
I'm talking about, like where it's like bow, bow.
Can you see me, Dane?
I can see you. Yes,
I'm in this little square right here. It's so.
it's kind of a rectangle. You know.
So we're live.
Oh, we're on. Oh, we're live. Oh.
This is going to be the best podcast
ever.
Hi guys. So yes, we are almost 10 minutes late today. I had some technical difficulties on my end where I didn't know. I thought these two right here were just going to take it home today and run this podcast, but we're all on. And today is all about marketing your creativity, building an irresistible heat printing brand. And we have two experts, two gurus on all things marketing and art creation, brand development. Believe it or not, even if they don't classify themselves as experts, they definitely are. So make sure we give some love to both Jay and Dane on today's topic and discussion. And please feel free to add any questions or comments in the chat. And of course, we will make sure that we do our best to get them answered. So before we get going, if you are tuning in live, make sure you type in the comments where you're tuning in from, who you are, what your business is. That way we can shout out and say hello. Thank you guys for being patient on today. And you know what? Anymore, it is Friday, it's November, and we're getting closer and closer to the end of the year. So shout out to 2025. So here we go. Okay, Jay, Dane, you ready for this chaos of a morning?
I'm trying to breathe through it, and it's just.
It's going to be great.
A hard one.
It's a hard one. They think it's hard, but it's not. Okay, so the overall objective today is to really give a perspective, right, for both somebody that has been in really essentially brand development and marketing, understands the technology, the heat printing, and then we've also got Dane, who can truly bring something to life through a literal sketch and then really just telling a story through graphics. And at the end of the day, we need all of those things paired with quality products in order to make your heat printing brand really just go next level, thrive in a downtime, and of course, make sure that you're making money in this business. Because at the end of the day, if you're running a business, the overarching goal, right, is to make money. So I want to get started first off by, just really kind of talking a little bit about understanding how important it is to tell a story visually. When we're building t-shirts, when we're decorating with other businesses' logos, it's easy, right, to take a logo, put it on a garment, and boom, that is done. But at the end of the day, how do we build a business by truly marketing and creating that story of what you do? So who wants to run with it first?
Can it run like away? I'll be that guy.
Run, yeah.
I'll run away.
Run, Dane, run. Oh my God. Well, go, Dane, go.
No, I don't. What am I going with? Give me a question. What are we talking
about? How about I start with this? Let me start with this. Okay, I'll start and then you can clean up my mess. First of all, this is super challenging. Okay, but I don't want to discourage anybody, any listeners, any viewers. This is what Dane and I have probably studied for 25 years. And we pretend that, I'm being generous, and we pretend, happy birthday, by the way, and we pretend that we know what we're doing. So by pretend, I mean, we practice and we make a lot of mistakes and we don't always hit a home run. Sometimes we're lucky to just get on first base, right? So it's a lot. I love how you did the intro, Kelly, about a lot of times we're fixated on product and we're thinking about times, temperatures, and we're thinking about all of that, the stuff, the product, the thing. And then I'm over here saying, yeah, but you gotta remember branding. You gotta build awareness. You gotta tell a story. You have to be memorable and be different. And that's, a whole nother set of skills. And then you got Dane over here. It's like, yeah, but who's going to draw it? Who's going to create it? So it's like the 1, 2, 3. I was excited. I'm kind of nervous, but I was excited for this content because it is in our wheelhouse. It is a lot. It's an important, really important conversation. So I'm just thrilled to be here, lucky to be here, and so glad that Dane can explain the importance of visual storytelling. And I'm going to let him talk about that first, because hopefully you'll make some sense. But Dane, I want to throw something out. I started saying this about 15 years ago. Nobody loved it. So there's a high probability that people are going to hate it again. Yeah. But I'm going to bring it back anyway. I used to use the term visual literacy. Ooh. Visual literacy. I made it up, I think I made it up.
Still not good. I don't like it either.
It's not good. Well, here, let me define it. When you see it, you get it.
Okay, that makes sense. So you just go with that.
When you see it, you get it.
Yeah, right. So I mean, it definitely it's about what you're telling your customers or what you're putting out there, right? What your message is, with your I don't know. You do that by colors and fonts and all that sort of thing, right? You got to make sure you have a killer logo, cool, cohesive looking things, from the message on your shirts or your logo or your business cards, to whatever it might be. You just have to, convey, you got to decide first off what it is that you want to, what your messaging is, and what you want to say to that customer and what you want them to feel or get out of that messaging. Right. Mm-hmm. So, the continuity has to happen from the logo, business cards to the websites. You want them to be able, if they see something that you put out, they know exactly where it came from, right? Just to start building that message, which is what I would try not to do, is throw things all over the place. Like here's for instance, I think color is probably the most important first thing that they're going to see. Because before you can, if you got anything, whatever it is, design, the first thing they're going to see is color. Typically, right? And then they're going to focus in and maybe see the font or the image that you're working with and that sort of thing. So I think colors are like the most important in my book, right? And then it's the imagery and the messaging. They're all important, but you got to have a starting point, right? So I do think like color psychology is a thing. Yeah. So if you have a like a calming business, a yoga studio or something like that, I mean, you're not going to use bright reds and aggressive colors, right? I mean, you got to switch it up. And I know it sounds like, duh, of course that's normal, right? But
it's not.
No, it's like some people don't.
But we often see the opposite, don't we, Dave?
That's what I'm talking about, right? I mean, pastel colors for something calm and relaxing, reds and bright, bold colors for, more aggressive looking things. So yeah, it's just a matter of what you show that customer to start building your brand. I think that's
I love it. I had a note, Dane. I had a note. I figured that we would both talk a little bit about this in this question, this idea of visual storytelling. You see it, you get it, you feel it, is what I wrote down the word emotion. Like it's an emotional thing. You reach somebody at an emotional level, and both in the actual graphic, the creative design side, as well as in the branding of repeating and telling the story visually on a social media platform or on apparel or everywhere. And I love that you use the word cohesive, because I think that I often use that word, and I use the word alignment. I think that most brands are out of alignment. And if you've ever driven, an old truck and it's really out of alignment, you're like turning it by like 20 degrees just to keep it straight.
Right.
Dave knows what I'm talking about. It's a thing.
I drive an old truck, Dave. Dave.
There you go, Dave. Who's Dave? Whatever. Dave. But the word alignment and how to have that graphic and the branding and I think all of the elements of what Dane's describing, the texture, the background elements. Yeah, I think of them in layers. The font, the color. But you're doing something to move the needle emotionally. And then our job as branders, as marketers, is then to amplify that in an appropriate way, because you don't want to just be loud, but to amplify that messaging and to be able to tell that story in a way that people will remember, people will feel.
Yeah. Yep. So I'm going to interpret what you both said, because what I think is so interesting is you said that, I'm going to back up.
I feel like you're about to Kelly explain this. Is that what's happening here?
I am.
I hope so.
I am.
But
what I'm doing is like, I am such a visual person, right? And so I think for those that need to see it to believe it, right? When this is right here, you can see it. We could show brand representation. We could show packaging. You could take a look at equipment zone. You could take a look at anything related to stalls and kind of see a brand that is being told visually, right? Like from booths to marketing throughout the year, how we do our hang tags on garments. But what I think is super important for those that maybe don't have your brains, because I'm not trained in marketing. I'm not trained in art creation, but I like to dabble. Right. So where I have to kind of meet the two is understanding what I like and what I connect with and what I don't really understand, and then figure out how to understand it. So I'm going to use skincare because there's a whole entire movement of skincare for both men, women, even both genders as one, right? So if you were to go into Target and see how they have completely changed their skincare aisles, the men's aisle now is really branded and telling a story that those products are there to connect with men, from darker colors, woodsy type of tones, certain type of textures, to get people to relate to that product without even knowing what that product is going to do. And then same thing for women. If you want like this elevated, sometimes it might be minimal coloring and simply stated, branding elements. But if you're looking at my 10-year-old daughter, she's loving anything that has bright colors on it. She gravitates towards it. And I think that along is exactly what the visual storytelling is they have found the colors, the schemes, who's their overall target market. If you can understand that, then you can start to understand what's important to that demographic, or even the generation type of preferences as the years expand and what people find valuable. So that's what I was trying to do in terms of like Kelly explain, which I am trying not to take offense.
Well, no, I didn't mean any offense to that. I'm sorry.
Oh no, do I do that? Do I mansplain but Kelly explain?
No, you're doing us both a service. You're giving it context. So I didn't mean anything negative about it.
I'm teasing you.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of wonder if you are. I don't know.
No, but I wanted to make sure I'm not like, hijacking.
She did go straight to the men's makeup counter or something at a Target, Jay. I didn't know it was such a thing.
Yeah, so Dane and I spend a lot of time there.
As Kelly explains it, you know what I mean?
But you know what I mean? Like there's this, there's oh my gosh, used to be a WWE wrestler, The Rock. There you go. He's got an entire brand from liquor to skincare. I'm sure he's got clothes out there, a clothing line, but he's got skincare in Target now. And it's this like deep, manly color of browns and, it's just rustic tones. And I find that is kind of one of those where it's like, oh, I want to see what this is to bring people in. So that's where I think the visual elements, if that was just like a white bottle with black text, that's probably not going to connect to men that have facial hair. And the whole point is like beard oil and, skin maintenance, right? Like it's just not going to. So as we dive in a little bit deeper, we'll be able to talk as to why, finding that certain style and the importance of telling that story is really all about making that connection. And then you get the buy-in on people trusting your products and trusting that you know exactly how to brand for them. So let's talk signature style, and really finding your niche. And I feel like we are kind of hitting people over the head with the word niche and really understanding your niche. But at the end of the day, for both of you that have had such experience in developing brands, do you find that niche really is important when it comes to creating a branding style, or do you find that it's really understanding who you are in your style for branding?
I think you have to understand what the brand's core values are first, right? What's your message? What do you want that customer to see and feel? I mean, you have to start there. That's like, if it's a personality trait, if it's if it's playful, whatever your brand is, I mean, you got to go with what makes sense from that, from colors to typography. It's all connected. So, one way I would say, if you don't have one to get today and you're trying to build something, if you do competitor analysis, right, look and see what's out there already, who's doing things that you like. You might find that, well, this piece is missing, right? There's a gap somewhere in that field out there that you can focus on, because that might be your wheelhouse. And if you know that, or if you just see a space that you can capitalize on versus what those guys are already doing out there, then it gives you a direction, right? It gives you something to start with, and to start building your own designs and your own looks from, right? I just think the markets in general, every market you think of, it seems to be like mega saturated these days, right? There's so much of everything out there. So you have to differentiate yourself somehow. And I think that's the easiest way, or first starting point. I know nothing's easy, but it's a good starting point to look for. That's that kind of thing. I totally believe that. Color palettes, fonts, all those things tell stories, but you got to know what story you want to tell before you get started. Can't be the everything to everybody, or you'll never get noticed at that point.
Amen, brother. I agree. I love Kelly, I love the question and the concept of, yes, I agree. We are overusing the word niche, however you want to say it.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that Dane talked about knowing your audience, or remembering what the client stands for. What are the values? What are those emotional anchor points that they stand for? And then remember, this is why this is so challenging. This is why I think Dane and I were like taking Valium and Xanax before this show started. Because it's really challenging to remember the two things. We're stuck in the middle. We got one foot on the boat, one foot on the dock. And the boat driver wants to leave, but we're saying, hey, wait, before you, the captain wants to take off. Before you leave, we got to figure some stuff out. We need to know where you're going. We need to know why you're going to go there. And we need to know who you want to visit. And so we have to kind of plan for that and ahead of time. And sometimes the captain just wants to get in and go. And we're like, yeah, but the boat's still, tied up. So we got to figure it out. We have to plan ahead. You have to kind of think through it. And I just think that thank you for bringing up the word differentiation, because it's probably my favorite word now, even though that's starting to get overused. What is it? What does it mean? A lot of times people ask me that question, and I'm like, okay, you just got to highlight your differences, just like what Dane said.
Yeah.
What makes you special, rare, and unique compared to your competitors? And then the goal, I think, is to communicate to those future buyers the reasons why they should choose you. And you have to do that in a visual way, with graphics, with fonts, with textures, with color, with, branding, with a repeating pattern, with a core value that when somebody sees it, they get it. That's why I kind of go back to that idea that you're trying to convey, that characteristic, that value that sets you apart. We can communicate that with graphics.
Yeah, so sometimes that's exactly what it takes to make yourself different. You can, again, if the market's out there super saturated and they got a whole bunch of people doing what you want to do, one way to make yourself stand out is designing differently. Maybe it's better design, maybe it's a different design, maybe same level but looks totally different, so it'll catch somebody's eye a little better. If they're doing design style A and you're just going to be another one of the 1,000 people that are doing design style A, good luck. I mean, you'll never stand out. So you got to do better or different in order to be noticed, I think. And you can do it with
kind of like a rat race. It's like, if you're doing the same thing that everybody else is doing, then it becomes you're just in the race with everyone
You're
else.
grinding. Yeah.
You're not following your uniqueness. Now you're following the masses, and you're going to look. That's why trends are so tricky. There's a difference between a fad and a trend. Obviously, Kelly, you know tons about this. But even the trend, even when you say, yeah, but here's what's trending right now, it's like part of me is like, okay, I need to know that. But at the same time, it's like, but if it's trending, then as a brander, as a marketer, as somebody who wants to be able to, consistently reach my audience in a unique, special way, I maybe don't care about that too much. Sure. Because my job is to zig when everyone else is zagging so that I stand out, so that I can leverage that awareness and then say, this is what I stand for. This is why we created it this way. This is why you are now part of the feeling and the emotion of this brand and what we stand for.
I think that's, you said something a minute ago and I should have wrote it down, but it wasn't key points, but it's really, goodness gracious, Jay, it was so good. I'm gonna have to go back and watch it and then put it in the comments, but it was something that
I said something smart. Did I actually say
it was like butter. For somebody that might struggle in identifying their signature style, maybe they know their niche and the market that they go after, but they don't know how to communicate that from a branding perspective. There are tons of contractors or businesses out there, even like hourly hires that can help you identify what your signature style is. And I don't think it's talked enough about in our industry, because we talk about bringing in people that can help you with accounting. We help, people, you can hire somebody to look at the efficiency of your business. They can look at where you can save money or where you really need to hire because you're doing 17 things at once and you're not able to finish them all. Well, this whole branding conversation needs to be talked about more, of the importance of actually having somebody help you with that. It doesn't mean they need to be on your payroll 365 days a year, but having somebody that you can go to and say, I need to identify this. My branding is off. My, website is kind of thrown together. That's all the initial touch point that sometimes people have. And if that is not really the entry into your business of painting the picture of who you are, then right there to me is a miss, because somebody else is going to have that nailed down. And simply because of the response and the emotion they're able to create, they're going to have that new business and then work to keep reoccurring business.
That's a awesome
so
point.
Smart. Great point. Yes.
You brought up consulting, right?
Yeah.
So, years ago, I did a lot of consulting all over the world, right? Going in the shops, making their art departments better, getting the productions of screen printing stuff better. And, it was one of those things, right? So when you go in and they're paying you to come in, which means they got skin in the game. So they're going to want to listen to what you're saying, right?
Right.
Typically. So you're going to go there and you're going to give them, for 1 week or however long the stint would be, is somebody that's, and this is true for anything that we do in life, right? Whatever you're branding, if it's social media stuff, there's people out there that can help you make that stuff better. Just like I help art departments create better artwork for screen printing designs and things like that for the apparel decorators. It's like, once you leave, and again, like you had mentioned, it's not always on your payroll. You pay for it. Sometimes it's just hourly. You just need that one nugget that, I didn't think of that, but this expert showed me that. It's in a one easy way to find these kind of things out is seminars at trade shows, right? They're industry specific. You got all kind of experts in all the aspects of your business in there, from the accounting to the social media guys, to the art guys, to the production people, all of it, right? Everybody's there in that building, wherever that building is. You can go to a class and you can be educated in an hour and a half, and you may know most of the stuff, but it might be one nugget that you grab, or you say, man, this stuff is really good. You talk to that speaker at the end of that class and you ask him a specific question that dials into their business specifically, right? So there's multiple ways that you can gain that advantage. And what happens is, I think there's only like I can't remember the exact number, but it's like less than 1% of the people that in our industry go to trade shows, something like that. And then less than that goes to the actual classes. And to me, that's the cheapest form of education that you can get. And the reason I bring it up is because I watched it happen going in the shops. And when I was leaving, they were 6 months to a year ahead of where they would have been had they not brought somebody in. Right. So, I mean, is that money well spent? Obviously, it's up to the business, but those so many ways that you can gain that.
If they hired you, it was money well spent. Yeah,
that's right. Of course it was, Jay. Absolutely.
Hell yeah. I love it, Kelly. You. How much time do we have? Because I'm pretty sure Dane and I could talk about this for about another 2 hours.
Oh, we can keep going.
I absolutely love your question. I absolutely am so. First of all, I can't tell you how many times, because I'm that guy. I'm that speaker at the Impressions Expo, at an ASI show, at a PPI show, at a printing promo apparel. Whether you're a promo peep, an apparel geek, or a printing freak, I've probably been at that show and was probably hired to speak about branding or marketing. So they come up to me afterwards. They go, "Hey, I really loved your session and blah, 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 blah. And it was awesome." And I'm like, "Thank you very much." I said, "Truth be told, I appreciate the great feedback. I appreciate your kind words. But if you really want to pay me, do something with the information I just gave you." And they're like, "Well, here's my business card. What do you think I should do?" And I'm like, and I'm like, "Burn it." Like, I don't mean to offend you, but I think you need a complete makeover. And they're just like, "Well, what do you mean?" I go, Dane already said it. You're trying to be all things to all people. And it's like, back to your style, back to your signature niche or your specialty, or what makes you rare and unique. What problems do you actually solve? And so it's tough because we have two cases of branding: my personal branding for my business, and then how good am I at doing this for other people? And so the irony of this is, you want to be in the business to say that you're an amazing marketer, you're an amazing brander, your palette, your canvas of choice is apparel, let's say, okay, and you're going to heat press the world a new Mona Lisa, but at the same time, you're invisible. Your personal branding is terrible, or it's like, are you trying to be invisible? Is that the game? Like, you're not on LinkedIn. I don't know what you personally stand for. I can't tell what you're all about. I have no idea what your feel is, your vibe, but you're saying that you're the best. And I'm like, kind of a disconnect here. Yeah. So thank you for opening up that Pandora's box. Sorry, I got a little emotional, but
no, but that's the
burn it down, start over.
Thing, though, right? Like, we can tell you to pay attention to colors. We can tell you to actually go off of color theory and what speaks to you, understanding the calming colors, the energy colors. Like, there's so much, right? Like, what works, what doesn't work. That was a wonderful example of the yoga. Oh my gosh, the yoga studio.
And cheers.
That's everybody's got. It's not alcoholic. Just gonna put that out there.
As far as you know,
no matter what, it's like, if that was red, like, could you imagine say a black yoga studio and then red LED lighting everywhere? Like, that would not work unless it was a yoga studio that was like high rage and you screamed through it. You know what I mean? Like, it's
a place where screamo meets yoga. I would want to check it out. I'm just saying.
I would love to see it. I ain't gonna lie.
I don't know that any of us would stay, but it would certainly demand our attention.
I think we've developed an entirely new demographic of working out or exercising. Scroga. Screaming yoga. The fact that I just got you chuckling, Jay, cracks me up. But so, like, at the end of the day, you do have to kind of be told that it's okay to need help with that, right? Like, not everybody's going to be an expert. You might be incredible at efficiency when it comes to producing orders and getting out the door and multitasking, but you're failing yourself in your business by not making sure you're checking that box and really driving home the conversation that's visual to your customers. So you had a great segue of LinkedIn. So we're going to switch over to social media and the importance of showing your business on that. And social media doesn't necessarily mean TikTok. Instagram. That could very easily incorporate LinkedIn, where we don't talk a whole lot about that social media platform. But if you're really wanting to go, say, outside to large corporations, really bring in an idea that you're a branding expert, LinkedIn is an incredible platform to take some of the same content that you may push on Facebook or Instagram, but really turn it into a business perspective. So with social media, and if everybody could comment below to get Dane to put a picture on his Instagram page, that would
mean I need
fantastic.
to use my Instagram.
Wow.
I don't use any of that stuff.
No,
I watch it. I do scroll it.
My tacos. This guy, come on. The cobbler who has no shoes. Is that what I'm hearing?
Oh,
the artist who can't create a profile.
Yeah, I guess.
I know.
I called you out because he's like, Kelly, you got to help me with this. And I'm like, let's do it. And each time we see each other at a show or
we got no time at shows. That's the problem.
We never talk about the things that we've said we need to talk about.
Right. Exactly.
Here, it always goes to something else. But for you, Jay, you are very, very present on all things people and platforms. So how do you take who you are as an individual, the businesses that you've created and helped build, how do you translate that into social media content that isn't the standard show customer appreciations? Oh my.
What?
He's having a malfunction.
They're not complaints. They're
testimonials.
Yes.
Take another shot for Jay.
Oh my gosh. Holy smokes. Yeah. So other than using customer testimonials, that's easy. That's a great way, to obtain that information and share it with others. But what are other ways of leveraging social media to where you can really showcase your creativity and who you are as a brand, brander, right? Like, bringing people's brand to life.
No, I think, great question. Thank you for asking. I think this is the essence of where Dane and I, 1 + 1 = 11 in this case, because you need the graphics, you need the artwork, you need the artistry, you need the color, the font, the texture, you need all of that. But you also really need, in today's modern branding world, you need visibility, and you need a platform to prove, right? You need to be able to showcase, highlight, pick your favorite adjective that says, here I am, this is me, this is what I stand for. So that's why I build off of differentiation. And that's why I think it's really important. And when a lot of times people say, well, what is that really? I said, okay, let's get more specific. So rather than just say you need to be different, I challenge people in a lot of the workshops I do to say, okay, pick one of these 5: product, service, channel, relationships, or reputation. Product, service, channel, relationships, reputation. And the reason that price is not on there is I forbid you to play in that sandbox. It's where all the cats go to take a you-know-what. So don't go there. So price has been off the list. Okay. Product is tough. Quality service, customer service is what everybody says. It's actually really weak sauce to say it and then not be able to back it up. So if you're going to say service, you better be able to prove to me on social media and everywhere else, and do it in a different way. Don't just say we have great customer service, because that means nothing. It literally is hollow, shallow, and is a 0 for me. It's a starter. It's like a customer service. Okay. Yeah. So you've got to do more than that. It might be your ordering process. It might be your e-commerce. It might be the ease and speed in which we can facilitate or communicate. Service is way complex, so be careful with service. Channel is where I think most people could probably get a couple of quick wins, because it's the size and type and kind of businesses that you serve. Like, where do I serve? Main Street versus Wall Street, Chamber of Commerce, the coach, the team, the league, right? Am I doing little league and dance class and jazz, and where are my cheer peeps, right? So where are you playing in the channel? And then you build on relationships and reputation. So those are my 5 breakouts of differentiation to help you then tell that story on social media. Now, my favorites are actually in order: LinkedIn, YouTube, which everyone forgets to talk about, and then Instagram. And I love the LinkedIn because I'm business to business. And then I love Instagram and YouTube because I can be more visual and I can showcase and I can be more creative. And YouTube because it lives forever. Now, I know all of these platforms are rented. You're renting space on their platform. They could go away. They could die. They could change. They become unpopular. YouTube's not going away. Okay, I'm just saying. LinkedIn isn't going away anytime soon, by the way. There's still been no other business-to-business platform that's been built this way. And by the way, Microsoft has 26 billion reasons to make it work because that's what they paid for it. So a lot of people don't know Microsoft owns LinkedIn. So anyway, whether you love them or hate them, I think that's an important piece of the puzzle. So this is how you leverage your creativity. This is how you prove. And you brought up customer testimonials. By the way, customer testimonials, yes, more stars, more ratings, but take the time to cultivate those testimonials and ask your customers, why do you like buying from me? What problems do I solve for you? And then capture that on a little short video. And I know everybody hates video and none of us want to be, spontaneous, but let me tell you, the best videos are truthfully the spontaneous videos where you connect with somebody and you say, you know what? I love everything you just said. Thank you for that email. Could we spend 5 minutes and just do a quick pick your favorite platform? StreamYard may not be on the list after this morning. Am I right, Kelly? Pick something or just ask them. You don't want to tell them what to say. You might seed it. You might say, I'd love it if you could talk about our creative strategies or how we moved the needle for your event, something like that. And then capture that moment on a video. And that video should live on your website. It should also live on YouTube. So yeah, there's so much to go through. I don't have enough time. And I know Dane's going to build on this a little bit, but
a little bit.
That's what I would say.
Because I'm such a high user of all the social platforms, right?
You are, my friend.
Here's the deal. I don't post, but I do partake, if that makes sense, right?
So Becky said, I don't use Instagram either, Dane. So don't feel bad.
I don't post to Instagram, but honestly, that's the one I use mostly. And I'll second what Joe said. Joe, what is my brain doing? All these random invisible ghosts around me. I don't know what the deal is.
Hold on. Wait. But am I breaking up? What?
He just laughed.
I'm back. I'm okay.
Hey,
Dave,
I'm just
Joe.
Gonna tell you how much I would have laughed if that camera wouldn't have came back on. It'd have been
that would have been the sprinkle on our whipped cream of ice cream.
Can you see me now?
Right.
Is this thing on?
Getting it going.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So you mentioned video, right? Video's first, obviously. I think it's the biggest thing out there. It's the one that most people like to consume in, right?
Ding, ding, ding,
when we learning and education, I like to read it. I'm like the one guy on an island that likes to read a book to figure out how to do something instead of watching a video. So that's one thing. But I don't post to Instagram, but I follow artists. That's my thing, right? Artists, outdoors, fishermen. I got a couple of guys locally. I know where they're catching. I can see the background stuff, so I go step in on their fishing. Those kinds of things. It's a thing. But
I love it.
I can tell you, my favorites are the process stuff, like from the sketch to the in the middle paintings, and it could just be like a slideshow. It could be just, hey, this is what I'm working on today, and it's at this stage, right? And then later on, it's at a different stage, and then it's finished. And it just tells that whole story, right? So there's multiple ways to do it, but that's the ones I really navigate to or gravitate to. I should say one of them words. I think they both might fit, but it's one of those that tell that whole story and make it, make me remember it. It just fits. It's just one of those things. But definitely video. It doesn't need to be video. Could be moving. Graphics, like I said, slideshows, sort of thing.
Animation,
anything like that. I think helps. From a guy that doesn't post but watches all the time.
Hey, it's okay. It's all right. We still love you, Dane.
I'm gonna start posting one of these days. I keep threatening.
Oh, sure you are.
Right. We talk about it all the time.
Bring it. We're gonna be watching. Here we are.
I'll do it one day.
This was a great question. Once you have a brand, do you trademark?
Great question. You don't have to, but you should first of all do a search to find out. You can actually go on the government has an official patent and trademark website that you can do a search and find out, because I don't have it committed to memory, but a quick Google search, you'll find it in a hurry. And you can find out if this keywords you're using or the name of your brand that you're using has been taken or is used in a subset. So there's copyright law that you have to be aware of. There's trademark law that you have to be aware of. And there's registering a trademark. So there's the Circle R, Circle C, and the TM. And you have to be aware of all three of them.
Right.
That's a good question. We did have a comment come in from Instagram that said, I love that. It might be one nugget or one idea that could shift your business. And that was in reference to the education that Jay had talked about, Dane, and just understanding that somebody may see something, from a different point. And then it just sparks or, really kind of blows up what you were thinking and puts you in a different path to where it's like, this is my light. Well, this is where I need to go.
Sure. I'll tell you this. I actually live this stuff quite a bit, right? So, I'm a Photoshop guy, been there forever, like 92 or whatever it was. Whew, that's a long time. But when there's certain people that will come around town, or if I go to a conference somewhere and I watch a video, at the conference in the seminars, a lot of times I know 90% of what they show it, right? I know the tools, I know how they work, I know what they're doing, makes sense, it's great, it's fun. But one nugget is all it takes, and it totally will change my work moving forward. Like, whoa, that was a time saver, a cool look. I didn't even know it did that, whatever, one of those kind of scenarios. And sometimes it's all it takes to keep your creativity rolling, or, shortening the amount of time that you're working on things. It's it's a thing.
Yeah, I love that, Dane, and I love that it's that piece of for me as a trainer, it's what really makes me excited. It's what pays me off, is to see that emotional payday for me is that when that light bulb explodes. It sometimes happens to us because I'm also still curious. I'm also still learning. One of my favorite things to do is to go back to some of these mega branders that have just been like powerhouses from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and go, what did they know? And what can I learn from that and apply today in today's world? Because like people think, well, you're not on TikTok, you don't know what the hell you're doing. And I'm like, you know what? I think there's a lot of brands that don't need to be there. Okay, I'm just going to say it. I'll be that guy. But the truth is, it's not bad. It's not evil. It is what it is. It's just a different lane. It's just a different lane. Okay, so I love what you said about that, and going to, learning, picking up one nugget. Sometimes it's an insight. Sometimes it's a shortcut. Sometimes it's a creative move. But
never know.
Please, you got to do that. And pick up a book. Thank you for saying that too, Dane, about reading. I mean, for hell's sake,
does that?
Who does that? I do. Old people like Dane and I do it. Okay,
exactly.
You're not old.
No, you know how we know we're not old is because we read books. So that's
when it comes to taking everything that we've kind of gone over and discussed, right? And if you were tuning in at the very beginning of really kind of this chat, there was a mention of being able to go for hours in this topic. And of course, we could essentially dive into all of the topics that we have discussed deeper and deeper and deeper, and show visual elements, really try to create a story through just having a conversation. But when people are trying to create this story in marketing, maybe your text, your font, maybe your colors, let's call those the basics, right? Like, here's my logo, here's an icon, here's my secondary logo, here are my colors, here's how to, I try and put everything together. Maybe somebody's created it for you, but they really haven't given you other tools to move forward on social media, building your website, adjusting your website, right? Like, it's okay to change up your website. It does not have to stay the exact same way that it was 5 years ago, because platforms, designs, trends, decoration waves, whatever we want to call them, do change. And what can relate to that demographic at that time may be completely different 5 years later, right? Like, think about how much COVID changed everything. So when it comes to, creating everything to tell the story, how do you take what you have and build those elements? Dane, with all of our booths, sometimes the graphics and creations that you come up with are simply because somebody gives you ideas. My brain and mood boards, and I will create this massive thing of what I'm thinking. But because I don't really know how to bring it to life, I have to show you 50 different things to tell you the story. How do you take all of that and convert it into something that actually makes sense?
Well, the cool thing is that you do those boards and you put them all together and you're getting the thought process started. That's top priority key, because worst thing in the world to do, and I've had to deal with it for 30 plus years in business.
The opposite of that.
Hey, I need a design, t-shirt design, I need a logo, whatever the things are, right?
Just make it look pretty, Dane. Just make it look pretty.
It look good, dude. I don't really have an idea, but you know what's going to work. You do it. You just do it. I'll tell you, anybody listening to this right now, if you get that from the customer, say, no thanks. How about we write stuff down? Because you're going to waste all your time in the world, because you're going to do whatever it is. I mean, full on illustration or just a logo, whatever. It doesn't matter. But once you say, oh man, this looks great. This, I think they'll love it, right? They didn't have a direction. I really had a good idea. This is it. I'm going to present it to them. They're going to come to you and they can say, oh, well, that's nice, but it's not what I was thinking, which is,
so you were thinking about this.
Yeah, you had an idea in your head. You're just too lazy to put it down. But what I mean by that is, when we're working with you, Kelly, for instance, the boards you put together, I'm just going to say, y'all, inside of that brain, whoa, I ain't gonna lie. But it's helpful because there's stuff there. She hits a, shiny, put that, whatever it is. And then once you kind of look at everything, you can say, okay, I sort of see the direction that we need to go. I kind of see what they like to see. I see colors that are kind of repetitive. I see fonts that are making sense, or, those kinds of things are just mushed together. So it makes my job a whole lot easier looking at those things. So that's one thing that I would absolutely stress. If the customer says, nah, just do whatever you think, man, be really cautious, because you're going to waste a boatload of time. If they have, you got to know what they're looking for, right? What the direction is. Just the fonts alone, just fonts. If it's you might need a serif font, right? If it's a traditional looking thing, or, some old school, or very, I don't know. I guess traditional is probably the best word to describe it. If it's a more approachable look, less not to say less corporate, but less, more approachable, right? It would be like a sans serif font, like just, typically bolds and things. Maybe it's a handwritten script, which is casual or fun. I mean, just those 3 different styles of fonts, just right off not thinking of anything else, convey 6 different ways. It's like, which one of those are we going to start with? So you need to get information from that customer before you start anything. With colors, obviously color palettes are huge. I personally think that's the first and foremost, because you notice the color even at a distance, and then, okay, well, now I can read what it was saying. That kind of thing it's a thing. So just make sure you get information, and don't let them just say whatever you think would be fine, because most chances that doesn't work.
I love what you said. Can I build on that, Kelly? Or
sure.
Go for it. Yeah. Okay.
So everything Dane said times 10. I want to go upstream a little bit. So like you, Kelly, creating a mood board, what you're doing is you're assembling the emotions, and you're pulling in feelings, and you're helping Dane have a launching pad. And so that's critical. And however you do it. So it could be Pinterest boards, mood boards. It could also be, well, first of all, let me say this. I'll start here. Remember when we started talking about audience? This is time and place and audience. Sometimes the coach just wants a flat top arch in all caps with a football that says 2025. I get that. So know who the audience is. Sometimes it's a coach, and who's the intended recipient of this apparel or this merch. Like if it's football players between the ages of 14 and 20, then okay, I need to know that. But when you're dealing on a business to business level, you kind of need a little bit more. I think you need more ammo. You need more, not necessarily tricks, but you need more strategies and tactics. So what I would start with is I would start with this idea of, if I'm talking to Dane, Dane's my fictitious customer, and he wants me to create something, I'm going to say, Dane, what problems do you solve for that audience? You have to kind of say, what are you good at actually doing? Like, can you solve their problem? Yeah, I'm really, okay, what is it? What does it look like? And then I'm going to be taking notes on this, because really, ultimately, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create an emotion, and I'm trying to build on trust. And if I can find the emotion that Dane is actually really good at solving problems like employee onboarding, and he's actually the HR, director, then I need to be able to know these moving parts and pieces, like what are their roles, what do they do, and what are the problems that they solve. And once I know that, then I can start to say things like color palettes, fonts, logo design, and all that. But one thing I learned a long time ago, my favorite question this will open up more doors for you graphically than anything, is when you meet with a customer for the first time, is to ask them, so what's the theme of your event? And I specifically use the word theme and event. So what's the upcoming theme for this upcoming event? Everything's an event. Everything's a campaign. Everything's a big deal. And if they don't have an answer, which they won't, because nobody else has asked them the question about a theme, they've said, do you have a graphic, or do you have logo, or what font? By me saying theme, I'm building out something bigger than just putting logos on stuff, because anybody can do that. There is already a sea of 1 million people that say they do the same thing you do with the same equipment that you have. So you have to be able to explain this in a way that says, I'm different, I'm crazy, and I love that, and I accept that. I am who I am. Brand identity is really, really important, and I want to get it right for you and your audience. So I have to be able to know, what do you stand for? Why are you unique, rare, and special? What problems can you really solve? And how do I take all of that information and Kelly's mood board and take it to an emotional place that's memorable?
Kelly's mood board. Yeah,
Kelly's mood board.
So everybody is aware, Dane and I do have a special relationship, and knowing that my brain can go in 60 different directions all at once. And so Dane does a fantastic job of taking this and then like streamlining it to exactly what I'm trying to say. It's fun. It's really fun.
Totally. It's actually, I won't say easy, but it's more enjoyable for me to work that way than having no direction. And I think that's probably true for most people, right?
That's it's fun. It should be fun, right? Because at the end of the day, we're in a really, really fun industry.
We are.
One thing that I think we've kind of talked about, from the beginning of the conversation, and Jay, you just touched on it as well, is everybody can essentially get a press anymore, right? You can find them in local areas. You can find them at a craft store. There's going to be different types of quality and really different types of needs on what you need that press to do, right? If you're popping out 100 pieces a day, think about your equipment, because your equipment at the end of the day is kind of like your bread and butter. But when it comes to really what you can do as a decorator, and I think the question was great of, are you putting a logo on something, or are you bringing their brand to life through walking advertisement? If we, clothing, apparel, accessories can all be used as a form of expression, right? So if you're taking somebody's logo, really try to understand who their brand is. I don't care if you decorate for the school, the church, your local, taco restaurant. Yes. Then you are turning around and branding, t-shirts for a family reunion. Those are all different things, but asking those questions, what's important? Is there a theme? Don't do just a white t-shirt. Try to find a way to pull in that color from the graphic to help really build on that overall design or that overall logo. Because at the end of the day, understanding the way to make something pop, whether it is subtle or in your face with neon colors, that's super important. So 12:01, I know we went, almost 10 late. It's been real.
Wait, this is done? I thought we were just getting started. Chapter 1.
Chapter 1. Please
Now we
pause,
go to
turn
chapter
over
2.
the tape, and rewind to start for chapter 2. Like that's, you know what I mean? Flip that cassette tape. So what I want to kind of wrap up is I love to give people like one key takeaway. We have had both Jay and Dane drop a whole bunch of information bombs. And if you caught this at the last 10 minutes, if you've been here from the beginning and you weren't taking notes, I urge you to go back and watch the whole thing or watch sections or wait till it is released, on all platforms that stream podcasts, to go through and listen and write down those nuggets that really just made that connection. Because from understanding who your brand is, how to get help and support on creating, that overarching mood or theme, the graphics, how to convey one logo into social media or building your website. There was so much valuable information for those that may not really be an expert or understand this side of the world. Those points will definitely give you kind of a starting point to kind of dive a little bit deeper. My question in wrap up is, Jay, you have FlexPoint on your hat. And
I do.
I think FlexPoint is new to a lot of people. We know you with, Equipment Zone and just being the marketing guru that you are. But what's FlexPoint?
Well, thank you for asking. Yes, I do. And thank you for having me. It's been a blast. We could literally take this in so many directions. So if I'm going to leave some parting wisdom, I would deflect away from me for a second and say, here's 3 things you could do. 3 things, 3 books. I want you guys to put this in the show notes if you would be so kind to do that. I get nothing for this. There's no kickback to me. There's no anything in it for me other than your learning, your knowledge. Jack Trout, like the fish, Jack Trout wrote the first book that I ever read on differentiation. It's probably from 2001. It's called Differentiate or Die. Jack Trout, Differentiate or Die. Read it. It's everything in it. It still applies today. Just because it was written 24 years ago does not mean that the times have passed us by and it's old info. It's perfectly relevant today. Building on what he did in 2001, I want you to get another book and read it. And it's from Sally Hogshead. Yes, that's her last name, as in a hog and a hog's head. Sally Hogshead wrote an amazing book called Fascinate. And I love the actual sub tagline, which is how to make your brand impossible to resist.
Ooh,
Fascinate. How to make your brand impossible to resist. That came out about 10 years later. So about 2010-ish. Sally Hogshead, amazing book, easy to read. These are not like cerebral academic, thesis type work. This is like something you can totally get into and read. And then a little more current, as of a couple of years ago, somebody that I've had a chance to kind of connect with and work with just a touch. Maybe something's happening in the future, maybe not. We'll see. Teaser. Is a guy named Mike Michalowicz. Tough last name, Michalowicz. I'll let you figure out how to spell it. Mike has written several books, but one of the ones that I like is also on getting different. In fact, it's called Get Different. That's the title of his book, Get Different. And his subtext is marketing that can't be ignored. And so these 3 books will help you on the marketing and branding side so that when you get to work with somebody like Dane or somebody like me from FlexPoint, which is what you could do. And FlexPoint, by the way, is you started out by saying, Kelly, oh man, I wish you could partner with work with somebody that could help you with your branding and your alignment and your LinkedIn. Ding, 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 ding. So that's what that I didn't say it. You said it.
I did.
Thank you. Because yeah, it doesn't mean that I'm looking for a job. I'm not. But a lot of times, because whether people hire me to speak or whether people want to take this on, I do have some services available. It's outside of Equipment Zone. It's on my own. It's so that I can have that passionate moment that feeds me and also feeds my family. So if there's a match there, great. If not, that's why I do these podcasts, because I think, and I'll end on this, branding can be brilliant if it's aligned strategically with everything that Dane said, it takes both. So even if you understand the what, you still need to have that graphical, visual, the content, the logo, the colors, know your audience, all of those things come together. So it doesn't matter if branded merch, promo, signs, tote bags, the stuff, the decorated apparel, all that's important. But I really think that this is going to build on trust. And the fact is, I believe that marketing is working at the speed of trust. So if your marketing's not working, it's because people don't trust you. They don't get you. They're not able to connect. And people like me can help fix it.
Awesome.
That was beautiful.
It was great. Dude, 10 minutes with you, they're going to change the world. Yep.
Dane?
I'm just going to say, yeah, I agree with that. I can't not. I'm tapping out. That was an awesome way to end this thing. I like it.
And go to Dane's session at Impressions Expo.
He's got 17.
I got a lot. You pick one.
Pick one. There's probably 5. Go to them all. It's worth it. I've literally sat in, and Dane knows I'm not BSing. You can learn something. Even if you're not a graphic designer, you should definitely go sit in on one of Dane's sessions.
Thank you, Jay.
I don't even know how to, thanks guys. See you later.
Yeah, right.
So no matter, like I said just a couple minutes ago, at what point you came in and tuned into the podcast, or if you are streaming this and you're listening, I hope you've been a sponge for this conversation. And we're just really open to hearing the potential that is out there without really kind of having to learn something new. This isn't new equipment that you have to learn. This isn't a new type of process. It's really just understanding what is available and how you can turn around and enhance your business simply by creating an irresistible, brand, whether it's heat printing, whether it's in design, branding as a whole. Just know there's some things that you should take and tick off that list outside of just the standard, say, business practices. Jay Bissell and Dane Clement, it is always a pleasure. I always learn so much. And with all of the golden nuggets that you drop, I can't wait to go back and write them down myself, because they were just very, very subtle but powerful. Really fast, I had wrote down a couple of things. So here we've got Carly has popped in.
Were there any questions? Oh,
the
okay.
Book information. Let's see. There's been a couple. We've had some people mention, like, I've been lucky. Most of the people that told me to do whatever, or they didn't care, were someone who I was making a one-off, and they were not picky at all. One of the questions that I had asked in the comments was, how many people have had that experience where it's just make it look good, and then they come back and there's 15 different edits. They want to change the font. They want to change the layout. They want to make sure this is there, and that's stacked, not side by side, whatever. It's just, make it look good, and you're doing what you think, and then you actually spend triple the amount of time on a project versus just getting some of those bullet points up front. The only other question, we've had a lot of people just comment in, Scroga sounds like an IKEA lamp. Matt Kimberling said that. I just cracked up. Rage yoga sounds like a new trend. Leon said hi. People were just kind of following along and commenting versus asking the questions. Let's see. Carly said this episode will be available for replay on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And then we do have posted in all the platforms that we're streaming tied to this video, the list of Jay's book recommendations. And then with the Mike
Michalowicz. Yeah, they spelled it right. That's right.
There was
marketing that can't be. It was get different.
There's the last part of it, marketing that can't be ignored by Mike Michalowicz. I'm not sure what happened. It looks like Carly YouTube. Oh, that's why YouTube kind of split the initial paragraph of all the books into two different pieces. So I was trying to figure out what was going on there. You guys, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for being patient as I figured out my camera. As always, it's so much of a pleasure. And I think, Jay, you said this is not my personality, but you're like, this is my personality. I'm going to have fun. And I definitely think we had fun on this podcast.
Oh, 100%.
Always.
Friday.
100%.
So,
yes. Thank you. And to do this with the two of you, I mean, makes it even that much more fun, that much more special, that much more memorable.
Obviously, yeah. We were involved.
I know my heart's so warm and fuzzy now, getting to spend the hour with you guys. So I appreciate it. But thank you guys for tuning in. If you are not part of our Heat Press for Profit, every time I say it, Heat Press for Profit Facebook group, I call it a community because it's very, very much a community. Go to Facebook, join the group. There are peers just like yourself, whether they are starting in this business and bought a heat press yesterday, or they have been in it 30, 40 years. It is nothing but a really support group and understanding business, getting opinions on marketing, and really just growing as a whole. So happy Friday.
Awesome.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. It's November, guys. We got 2 months left till 2025. So we'll see you next Friday. And that's it. Bye, guys.
All right. See you guys.
Bye, everybody.